John Horgan isn't even premier yet, and he's already trying to kill thousands and thousands of great-paying jobs in BC's north. Horgan announced yesterday that he sent BC Hydro CEO Jessica McDonald a letter urging BC Hydro to stop work on the Site C dam and no longer issue any new contracts. But this does not jive with what we heard from Horgan on the campaign trail. The BC NDP leader stated numerous times that he would not halt work on the project while he sent it off to the Utilities Commission for further review. The Site C project is the first major hydroelectric dam to be built in BC in over 40 years. And at a time when the oil and gas industry is seeing a dip due to low prices, it was in many ways the perfect project to give those who had been laid off from BC's oil and gas region in the Peace River Valley a new opportunity to get back to work. The project has been underway for nearly 2 years now, and when I went up to Fort St. John in March 2016, work was well underway, and at that time BC Hydro was giving out contracts to many First Nations in the area interested in working on the project. All of that is now in jeopardy as John Horgan and Andrew Weaver have been lobbied awful hard by foreign-funded advocacy groups to scrap this project. So at the exact same time as Donald Trump was pulling the US out of the Paris Agreement, John Horgan was trying to end the Site C project. And this puts British Columbia's commitments on the Paris Agreement and on climate change in jeopardy. Say what you like about the science, I personally don't think it's settled, and say what you want about BC and whether we can make an inch of difference in this global issue, I don't think we can. But these two men who will now try to lead this province are both major purveyors of climate change, its threats, and the green energy agenda. The problem is, like most modern environmentalists, both of these guys not only believe we should move to end our reliance on cheap, reliable, and plentiful fossil fuels, but also display amazing cognitive dissonance when they oppose the only other two reliable and cheap energy choices. That would be hydroelectric and nuclear power. If they want to try to be virtuous and claim that BC needs to be a climate leader, and then turn around and use that as a justification to oppose the Kinder Morgan pipeline and an emerging LNG industry, but then oppose an emission-free source of baseload power in the Site C dam, it makes me wonder if they've even bothered to analyze this from an energy production and electricity needs perspective. I'm going to have to guess no. After all, these are the same people that push for an ever-electrified society with everybody driving electric cars. Yet how on earth are we going to power all these EVs without hydroelectric dams? Simple answer is, we can't. Thankfully, someone smarter than I has looked at BC's energy situation closely, and with a PhD in chemistry and environmental studies, Blair King's work is some of my favorite reading when it comes to energy. In an article for HuffPo, shortly after Canada signed the Paris Agreement, Mr. King outlines how it might be hypothetically possible to try to get 100% off fossil fuels in BC. This is, after all, something many, if not all, environmentalist activists push for. So Mr. King writes, quote, "To replace the energy currently provided by gasoline and diesel fuels only, we would need to find the energy equivalent of almost 15 Site C dams," unquote. Later on in his personal blog, Mr. King conceded that with energy efficiency gains, that could be reduced to 9 Site C dams. Yet, we can't even get one off the ground. So with that in mind, Mr. Horgan and Mr. Weaver, why is it that you both espouse the virtues of fighting climate change but refuse to acknowledge what many reputable scientists and energy analysts have already noted? It will be impossible for BC to reduce emissions and meet your desired climate goals if we do not construct the Site C dam. So that leads me to believe that they are simply ignoring the facts about what this project will provide BC. Never mind the thousands and thousands of potential job losses in a region already hurting bad, and bound to be hurt even worse by an anti-fossil fuel agenda. And by ignoring those facts, you prove to all of BC that the real power behind your decisions, especially in the case of Site C, is the foreign-funded environmental lobby we are all now forced to bow to. For the Rebel.media, I'm Christopher Wilson. Thanks for watching. I'm going to make a commitment to you that when John Horgan takes power, I'm going to make sure I keep on top of all their crazy ideas and bring you the honest truth about the impacts.